Hello and bienvenue to Life's Questions and Lessons, the Self-Reflection Podcast. I am your host, Charity Youngblood, and I am so excited that you are here with me today. Let's get started with today's topic, overwhelm disguised as ambition. So I'm actually recording this after a yoga session, and it's funny because I thought I wasn't even going to be able to pep up because it was so grounded and I didn't want to move from the mat. I was just calm and it was so beautiful. But that's a really good reminder and a reason why I'm actually talking about it here is it's so important to know where you are when you're asking yourself these questions, where you are internally, right? So checking in with your emotions, with your external and external and internal environment, and just kind of understanding that the insights that come through are going to change depending on where you are. So what season you're in, what you're dealing with in that moment. So kind of just a quick reminder to always check in with yourself. If you feel like, you're too calm after a yoga session, maybe that's not necessarily the time to explore today's question. But it's my podcast and I had to record at this time. So it's going to be what it's going to be. But we are in full swing of our what are the disguises of overwhelm, and ambition was next on my list. So, ambition has definitely changed. It's interesting. Its meaning has changed for me over the years. When I was younger, I think I had a little bit more of the need to do all the things. I've never been very fond of working a lot of hours. Even when I had 2 jobs, 3 jobs, I still didn't work that much. I know it sounds crazy, but the hours of each job still allowed me to get 8 hours of sleep at night. So I think that context is helpful because this is coming from someone who never really believed in the hustle and bustle. And even when it did kind of affect me, I was always very kind of resistant to that. So when I think about ambition in this season, it is kind of almost like a state of mind. Like I have ambition to become a director. Let's say I have an ambition to become a director. The way that I go about it is very different because I'm looking at it to make sure that I'm not overwhelmed. So as you are looking at this topic, and the question of this topic is really, what are the warning signs of overwhelm disguised as ambition? So what are the warning signs? What can, kind of almost, how can I prevent, this might be another way to ask that question, how can I prevent overwhelm from consuming me with its sneaky ways while I'm pursuing my ambitions? And I think sometimes just acknowledging the fact that it's possible, acknowledging the fact that overwhelm is something that you do not want in your life. And going back to what I was mentioning at the top of the episode, I practice yoga as a way to kind of deal with life. Like it's really brought me this philosophy and ideology, I believe is the word, to use what I'm doing on the mat, off the mat. And if you're not careful in really exploring these questions of overwhelm and the warning signs of overwhelm and what it feels like to you, you have to understand what you're sacrificing. So if you're not looking at it, if you're not taking the few minutes here and there to say, okay, wait a minute, is overwhelm disguising itself as ambition? And taking that moment, you might not have that time to explore something like yoga or whatever other hobby or interest or passion. So it's really understanding that if you don't do this work of understanding what the signs are, how you can be proactive, how you can be preventative before overwhelm consumes you, you are basically sacrificing those things that really make life meaningful, right? So that's all I had on my heart for today. As always, thank you so, so much for listening. Please rate and review this podcast wherever you're listening to my words. And if this episode was helpful for you, please share it. And until next time, take care.